You are standing in a silent hallway, facing a door that is not yours yet. Behind it is an empty apartment. No furniture, no memories. Just bare walls, quiet outlets, cabinet handles, and a thin line of light under the frame. But before that, space can become part of your life. Another room must decide whether you are allowed to enter. Somewhere, your credit file is being opened. Your income is being compared against the rent. Your rental history is being searched for proof that your life can be trusted. A background check is moving through a system you cannot see. No one is yelling at you. No one is standing there saying you do not belong. It is colder than that. The system is simply asking whether your name is strong enough to stand alone. And if the answer is no, the next question is already waiting. Who can sign behind you? Premise: shelter becomes trust. This is not really a story about bigger houses. It is not a tour through luxury. It is not about perfect lawns, expensive counters, private gates, or rooms built only to impress guests. It is about what a house becomes as wealth moves through your life. Because a home is never only shelter. It is a record of how much the system trusts you, a record of how much permanence you can afford, a record of how much control you have over the space around you, and a record of how much of your life can be handled before you even arrive. At the bottom, you need someone else's credibility just to get through the door. Then you earn permission to rent. Then you become predictable. Then you buy permanence with debt. Then your neighborhood begins to speak before you do. Then the house becomes part of your reputation. Then privacy needs legal structure. Then wealth becomes an operation. And eventually, the system begins to know what you need before you ask. But it does not begin with a mansion. It does not begin with a deed. It does not begin with a gate. It begins at the lowest level, when your name is still not strong enough on paper. Level 1, no financial recognition. At this level, you may have a place to sleep, but you do not truly control the space around you. It may be a room inside a relative's house. It may be a shared apartment where your name is nowhere on the lease. It may be a couch, a spare room, or a temporary place offered with kindness. But kindness does not make the space yours. The problem is not only that you need more money. The deeper problem is recognition. Your credit file is thin. Your income is too new, too uneven, or too difficult to prove. Your rental history does not say enough yet. So when a landlord looks at your application, they are not really seeing your effort. They are seeing risk. And risk always demands support. That is why the system quietly asks for another person. A parent. A relative. Someone with a stronger record. Someone whose name can carry weight before yours can. This is the hidden humiliation of the first level. You can be working. You can be trying. You can be serious about your future. But if the paperwork is not strong enough, the system still asks who stands behind you. You are not just trying to earn rent. You are trying to earn the right to be trusted alone. And the next level does not begin with luxury. It begins when your name is finally accepted on a lease. Level 2, permission to rent. The approval arrives without ceremony. Just a message on a screen. Your application has been accepted. But there are conditions. A larger deposit than you expected. Proof of income already uploaded. Renter's insurance required before move-in. A lease full of clauses you read slowly, then sign anyway. Because the alternative is going back to a space where permission belongs to someone else. The apartment itself is not impressive. The air conditioner sounds tired. The cabinets do not close the way they should. The floor is clean enough, but not new. There is a mark on the wall where another person's furniture used to be. Still, something changes when you stand inside. For the first time, the boundary is yours to maintain. The rent is not just payment for square footage. It is the price of having a private edge around your life. But the freedom is thin. One missed paycheck could change the mood of the room. One repair bill could feel larger than it should. One unexpected charge could remind you that privacy is not the same thing as margin. You can close the door now, but you cannot fully relax behind it. At this level, you have permission, not stability. And if you keep paying, keep showing up, and keep proving that your life can be predicted on paper, the system starts to treat you differently. Not because you suddenly became wealthy, because you became legible. Level 3, stable tenant. At this level, your life begins to look less temporary on paper. The apartment is still ordinary, but it no longer feels held together by apology. The rent clears automatically. The electric bill is expected. Your credit card gets paid before interest has time to become a problem. A small emergency fund sits in the background, not enough to change your life. enough to keep every inconvenience from becoming a crisis. Your employer has been on your documents long enough to look real. Your bank account does not swing as violently as it used to. And when you apply for a better place, the process feels different. The leasing office does not examine you like a question. They process you like a file that makes sense. That is the strange relief of this level. You are not dramatically richer. You are simply less suspicious to the system. Payment history has turned your behavior into evidence. Stable employment has turned your income into a pattern. A stronger credit score has made your name easier to trust. And the less the system doubts you, the less you have to explain yourself. But this is still not permanence. The building can change owners. The rent can rise. A renewal can arrive with a number you did not choose. You have stability, but someone else still controls the long-term answer. That is why ownership becomes attractive. Not because it is always the cleanest financial decision, but because it promises something renting can never fully give you: the right to stay longer. Level 4. First ownership. The first house does not remove you from the system. It pulls you deeper into it. Before you ever move in, your life is taken apart and measured. Income, debt, cash reserves, credit score, employment history, bank statements. Every number is placed under a colder light than you expected. The lender wants to know if your future can support the promise you are about to make. The down payment leaves your account and turns years of saving into one transfer. The inspection report teaches you that walls can hide problems. The insurance quote teaches you that ownership has risks you must price in advance. The escrow account teaches you that even after you buy the house, other claims will keep arriving. Taxes, premiums, interest, repairs, maintenance. At closing, your name becomes attached to the property in a way it never was as a renter. That matters. But the deed is not freedom by itself. It is freedom with an operating cost. You now have permanence, but that permanence is financed by debt. You can paint the room. You can replace the floor. You can decide what stays and what goes. But a roof repair can still change the month. An insurance increase can still tighten the budget. A tax reassessment can still remind you that ownership is not one decision. It is an ongoing relationship with cash flow. That is the deeper truth of the first house. You did not escape the machine. You moved from being screened by it to being financed by it. And once you own, the question changes. It is no longer just whether you have a house. It is where that house places you. Level 5, Status Neighborhood. At this level, your address begins to carry information before you explain anything. The street is quieter. The lawns are more consistent. The cars in the driveways suggest a certain kind of income, a certain kind of schedule, and a certain kind of life. The school district is part of the price. The commute is part of the price. The HOA rules are part of the price. Even the silence is part of the price. Nothing has to be said directly. People understand the code. Your zip code becomes shorthand for stability. Your property value becomes a form of social proof. The house no longer only receives your mail. It tells other people something about your income, your discipline, your risk level, your family structure, your taste, and the future you are expected to maintain. At first, that recognition feels good. It feels like a rival. But recognition always comes with measurement. The yard cannot look too neglected. The exterior cannot drift too far from the local standard. The car in the driveway, the way guests arrive, the way you host, and the way the house looks from the street all begin speaking a language you did not create. You are not just paying for shelter anymore. You are paying to belong to a social category. And once a house can place you inside a category, it starts doing something more powerful. It starts speaking before you do. Level 6, the house is signal. At this level, your house becomes part of your reputation. People step inside and adjust their assumptions without announcing it. A colleague notices the space before the conversation begins. A business contact understands that your life has a certain level of order. A relative walks through and says less than you expected, because the house has already said enough. A friend from an earlier season of your life sits in the room and feels the distance before either of you names it. This is where private space becomes public signal. The house is still where you live, but it is also a credibility asset. It tells people you can sustain obligations. It tells them you have taste, or at least access to taste. It tells them you are not operating from the same uncertainty you once were, and that can help you. Some rooms make people listen differently. Some addresses make calls easier to return. Some dinner tables make professional trust arrive faster than it should. But there is a cost. When your house speaks for you, you lose neutrality. People become more careful. Some become impressed. Some become distant. Some start treating you as a version of yourself the house created in their mind. The relationships may not break. They may not even become worse. They simply become less simple. Status opens doors, but it also changes the temperature inside the room. And when your home becomes a signal, the next level is not about adding more space. It is about controlling who can see the signal, who can enter it, and what information is allowed to leave. Level 7, legal privacy. At this level, privacy stops being a feeling and becomes a structure. The house may still look quiet from the outside, but inside it, a different system is forming. Cameras have positions. Gate codes have rules. Vendors do not simply arrive anymore. They are scheduled, approved, recorded, and sometimes kept away from parts of the property they do not need to see. Your insurance becomes more detailed. Your attorney asks questions that sound excessive until you understand what they are protecting. Who has access? Who knows your address? Who knows when you travel? Who enters when you are not there? Who might repeat something they saw without understanding its value? At lower levels, you wanted to be visible because visibility meant recognition. You wanted the landlord to approve you. You wanted the lender to believe you. You wanted the neighborhood to accept you. But now, visibility has a cost. Your address is information. Your schedule is information. Your habits are information. Even the people who visit your home become part of a pattern someone else could read. That is the quiet shift. Privacy is no longer automatic. Privacy has to be designed. And once privacy needs architecture, the house stops being only a possession. It starts becoming an operation. Level 8, operational wealth. At this level, the house no longer runs because you personally remember everything. It runs because systems remember for you. There is a calendar for maintenance. There are vendors for problems you never touch. There is someone who knows when the landscaping needs attention, when the filters need replacing, when the insurance renews, and when a small issue should be handled before it becomes expensive. You may still own the home, but you are no longer the main operator of it. A property manager sends updates. An assistant coordinates access. An accountant tracks categories. A cleaner knows which rooms are used most. A contractor knows which repair can wait and which one cannot. A broker knows which coverage needs review before the next renewal. The chores that once made the house feel physical now arrive as reports, invoices, and decisions. This is what operational wealth does. It buys back attention, but it also creates distance. You no longer touch every part of the life you own. Someone else knows the rhythm of the property better than you do. Someone else notices the problem first. Someone else prepares the room. Someone else makes sure the machine keeps moving. After a while, the house may function more smoothly when you are not involved in every detail. That is not failure. That is the system doing what wealth paid it to do. But it changes the feeling of ownership. The house becomes less like an object you maintain, and more like an institution that reports to you. Then, when this operation spreads across more than one property, more than one calendar, and more than one team, something even stranger begins to happen. The system starts preparing for you before you arrive. Level 9, the system knows you. At this level, home is no longer just an address. It is a network, different properties, different access rules, different staff, different calendars, different systems, all organized around one assumption. Your time should not be wasted by ordinary friction. The door does not need a traditional key. The system identifies you. The temperature is adjusted before you enter. The rooms are prepared according to preference. The vehicle is ready before you ask for it. The security permissions have already been handled. The schedule has already told the house what kind of day you are about to have. You do not explain as much anymore. You do not request as much. The environment reads the pattern and moves first. This is what the highest levels of residential wealth really buy. Not just space. Anticipation. The world begins removing inconvenience before it touches you. And for a while, this feels like control. No waiting. No searching. No arranging small things at the last minute. No standing in the middle of a problem wondering who to call. But every convenience changes a muscle. The less friction you meet, the less practiced you become at handling it. The more life is prepared for you, the less direct contact you have with the preparation. You gain space. You gain protection. You gain response. But you may lose the simple feeling of being personally connected to the place itself. The house knows you. The staff knows your preferences. The system knows your movements. And still, the question becomes quieter. Do you feel more at home or just more efficiently served? Final inversion, the smallest boundary. The highest level was never really the largest house. It was not the most rooms, the strongest security, or the smoothest convenience. The real story was always trust. At the bottom, the system did not fully believe your name. Then it allowed you to rent. Then it allowed you to borrow. Then it allowed you to own. Then it read your address as status. Then it protected your privacy. Then it built operations around your life. Then it began preparing the world before you arrived. But the deepest feeling of ownership may not appear at the top. It may appear at the first boundary that was truly yours. The first place where no one else had to stand behind you. Because wealth can make the house larger. It can make the system smoother. It can make life quieter, safer, and more controlled. But control always has a price. And the point is not only to live in a bigger house. The point is to understand what you are trading to stay there. Because sometimes the most powerful room is not the one that serves you perfectly. It is the one where your name is finally enough.